What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by the star of last weekend in the world of mixed martial arts, Danni McCormack, who beat Sheehan over in road to the UFC in fight of the weekend, performance of the weekend, standout talking point of the weekend. It was brilliant. Danni, how are you? I was trying to come up with a name for you. I was thinking like the Midlands Mauler or the Mullingar. I feel like the Mac of the Midlands or something like that. We were like there's after your man absolutely ruined the word Mullingar as well on the entrance. I was like we need to get that right. But how are you? How are you feeling after the escapades of the weekend?
Mullingar or something.
Yeah, he did, but I'm sure you didn't mind anyway. How are you feeling after the weekend?
Good, maybe like the China girl killer or something like that.
You're coming. You the call out planned anyway for the next one.
Oh, for God's sake! I didn't mean to say China girl. That's like I don't know. I didn't mean to come out that way. I think that's what Trump said.
Yeah, but sure, look.
Sounded like Strickland there, so I am. But yeah, I'm good. We got in at 7:00 this morning, and like I haven't slept a whole lot in the last few days, so it's still just crazy. Like I don't think I really took it. I've taken it in yet at all. And I suppose I probably won't until I hear back from the UFC what's next. I'd say I won't take it until then because I'm still a little bit on edge thinking about that.
I suppose that's the first place to start. Have you heard anything? Do you know what's next or when you will be hearing anything?
I just know Paradigm are contacting them today, but like from what I've learned from the last 12 months is that they usually meet on Tuesdays and things happen on Wednesdays. So if I don't hear anything today, I won't lose hope until to my usual Wednesday morning, check what's happened.
It feels like even if it doesn't happen straight away, obviously because you have the cut and stuff and you're after just coming through a fight, it feels like the online chatter, the people kind of getting behind you, like if someone was to fall out in, let's say, a month's time or something like that. Do you kind of feel that? Because like the last time we spoke, and I know you spoken to the lads on the old triangle and stuff, it was like, and I said it on the podcast of the weekend, there was a bit of negativity in terms of like, oh, it's never going to happen type of thing. And we all know our favorite sports team or whatever is like, oh, they're never going to win it or they're never going to get there. I feel that has changed a little bit after the weekend. I feel like everyone's like saying, and people were saying it beforehand, but now like people in America and other places like Danni needs to be in the UFC. Even your interview afterwards, it felt more positive. And do you feel that? Do you feel there's more positivity now and it will happen now rather than kind of hoping?
Like if I took myself out of the equation and I watched the fight myself at home, I would be saying that girl's definitely getting a shot, but because I've had so many no's from them, like I don't really let myself get too carried away, but I think it'd be bad business if they didn't take me because I literally did everything they want except I didn't get the finish, but Jesus Christ, like I tried so hard and it was nearly more exciting not getting the finish because we got all the way to the very end and there was a bit of rock and sock and robots in the last 10 seconds, which is always fun. So, I think I deserve a shot and I have a 45-day ban now, so that's not going to mean that I could get a contender series fight now or anything. I thought they might say, I will throw her in the contender in October, but I'd be very tight to get to that with the ban, and it's either in now or even a short notice thing. Like I'm a strawweight. Like what are they going to give me short notice flyweight? I don't know. I think just give me a contract and give me a fight camp. But look, I won't turn my nose up to anything. But I think after Friday night, I deserve at least a one fight deal.
I agree, 100%.
Not even pushing for more here.
We'll get back to that in a second, but we have to kind of turn back, I suppose, to. I want to jump to after the fight for a second. Okay, which is worse, getting the blood out of your hair or the canvas burn?
The canvas burn. I swear to God, I'm not being a pussy here. But I've been taking diaphragm solid since the fight. Like every 4 hours, I've been taking 2 diaphragm. I'm not gonna have a liver left after this. The pain off the burn is just excruciating. Like it's just awful. I brought my own dressings to the fight because I knew it was gonna happen, and I got them dressed up. Like, but every time I change the dressings, it's rough. These stitches, I don't feel anything. My bruises on my face, nothing, not a thing. Just the canvas burn. Jesus Christ! I was thinking I could wear like ankle sleeves and knee sleeves next time, and I'd be ready to go.
You look like an old lad of about 39 turning up for like a junior B match or something. Is it the UFC's kind of canvas and octagon? That doesn't really happen anywhere else, does it?
It happens in Bellator as well. It was the same. It didn't happen in Invicta at all. But Bellator's was really rough now. I remember a bad night after a Bellator fight too.
Is that something you think about going in, like, or is it just like I have to power through this? Look, it doesn't. I have to do what I have to do.
Like going to the venue, I always like smile to myself, thinking like, Jesus, I'm gonna be so broke up leaving this place later. But like I kind of just laugh about it. Like I just think, God, I'll probably have a broken nose and whatever. And anyone that's planning things to happen the day after the fight, or like my cousin, like Neve, she was trying to get like a schedule for the night of the fight. And I was like, Neve, we're not planning anything because generally I'm in hospital. So, let's just plan that's what's going to happen. But I didn't make it to hospital this time. Thankfully, they stitched me up on site.
You had the pool party though. What was that like? And I know, like we've talked about that before, and the lads had it this week over in the Old Triangle about meeting John at the pool party. Was it kind of full circle being another full pool party this time?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, and thankfully I had a few drinks because I was jumping in the pool with the bloody canvas burn and the stitches, and I had my head under the water washing the blood out of my hair and everything. And a few hours later, when I sobered up back at the hotel, I didn't sleep all that night because my knees were so sore from the chlorine. But it was wild. Like, it was brilliant. My brother's my biggest supporter, and he organised it. And I had family and friends over from home, and it was just great. Like, to let your hair down, and like, all of us have been on the journey together. All my family's been with me like through this for so many years, and they were all like, "We knew we'd get to Vegas. We knew you'd get us to Vegas." So like, they already think I'm in the UFC, so they do. So it was really good to take in the moment. Like, we definitely took in the moment. Like, and we're so happy that we got the opportunity on Friday.
It's funny though, the way like the UFC has gone, obviously, with a lot of Apex fights and Contender Series as well. Like, it basically was like a UFC fight. Like, the commentary kind of said it as well. Like, this is because it's not in the tournament that was on that night. This is like a de facto Dana White Contender Series fight, and I think a lot of people like kind of looked at it that way as well. So and you went out there and you won, and obviously had the fight that you had, which we'll get to in a second. I want to run back to the start of the fight. Just first of all, before we talk about maybe the preparations and all, how did it happen? I know, like, we've talked obviously multiple lines before talking about Contender Series and trying to get to the UFC and all. How did this opportunity pop up for you?
Yeah, like, I'll give a shortened version, but I got out of my contract with Invicta, and I just became a free agent because I knew, like, the UFC had so many people wanting to get into the Contender Series that if there was any roadblocks at all, then I'd be less likely to get called up. So I got out of contract, and I kind of thought, like, I'll hear something in the next few weeks because I could see them getting matched online for the Contender, and I just wasn't getting anything, and it was going on. And we were, I think it was like the end of June, it was about 6 weeks ago, still nothing. And John knows somebody that knows Mick, and asked him what the story was, and Mick's straight up answer was, "We're not interested in her." And that the same time John was telling me that, I'd actually rang John to tell him, "Listen, I think I should take the summer off. I have a really bad ankle at the moment. They're on about doing surgery on it, and I'm after getting an injection into it, and I'm also on a long-term antibiotic because I can't stop getting sick, upper respiratory infections. So they're putting me on a 4-month antibiotic." And I said to him, like, I think I just need 2 months off to let everything heal. And I was going to get my tonsils done as well, because the infection control doctor said you should get your tonsils out because it's another source of infection. So literally just having that conversation with John, I said, listen, just let me know if there's anything with the UFC and I'll definitely like show up for the UFC. But other than that, we should call it off. And he said, I don't think we're going to hear anything. And that was when he said, listen, I asked someone to ask, and this is what Mick said. So that had just happened that week. And then I think it was literally the next day, I woke up to like her Tapology in my WhatsApp, and just a message saying, is your girl interested in flyweight? And that was Mick messaging John's friend. Didn't even go through Paradigm, like it just was off the cuff. And to be honest, if the friend hadn't asked Mick about me in the first place and got the hard no, I don't think I would have got the fight. It was just because my opponent's other original opponent had pulled out or had got injured or something, and they were literally just looking for someone in that 24 hours, and I happened to be in the back of his head. So I said yes straight away, and all balls rolling. And I was sick at the time when that happened, and I said to John, like, give me 4 days, I'll see you in 4 days. I get rid of this infection and we'll hit the ground running next week. So that was it. And I rang the doctor and said, what's the story with the antibiotic? And he said, I don't think it'll affect your performance. Try the first part of camp and let's see how you go. And it wasn't affecting my performance. And I said, should I come off it? Like, because you hear Joe Rogan giving out antibiotics all the time. I was pure paranoid. And the doctor said, if you come off it, I think you're odds on like to get an infection fight week. And he said, just keep going with it and get it cleared by the UFC. And at least you're healthy and you're getting through camp. And who cares about being on an antibiotic? So that's what I did, and it worked, and strapped up the ankles, and thankfully the injection really helped as well. And we just went for it. We're like, we've got 6 weeks, and the goal of camp was to stay healthy and get fit, and that was it. And the game plan was straightforward. It's what I've been doing for the last 8 years. So there wasn't a whole lot of technical stuff that we really needed to focus on. And John even said, if you can only get into the gym twice a week, that's enough. He said, this has been a 10-year camp, not a 6-week camp. So I ended up making it to SPG 3 days of the week and doing the rest of it at home. But yeah, it was just mad. It was a mad 6 weeks.
I was going to ask you about, like, obviously you moved up a weight class and like maybe putting on extra weight or adjusting to that. Was there any thought in that at all, or did you just kind of like say, look, I'm going to go in and not weight cut, or what did you make any adjustments?
Originally at the start of camp, I said that I only feel good when I get to around like 130, 131, and I should get there. And if I'm not there, I won't be fit. And like everyone just agreed with me, whatever I wanted, they let me do it. And like John was straight up, like, you've got 6 weeks, like you're not going to be stronger than her in 6 weeks, but you could be fitter. So if you think 130 is the number, then do it. But next thing, without cutting weight and just eating loads of food, I was 135, 136, and I felt fantastic. And I started saying like, oh, I'm not going to get down to 130 at all. Like, fuck that. I'm flying here. So just before I flew, I was 134. And then, which this never happened to me as a strawweight, but as a flyweight, literally when I water loaded and changed my diet, I went from 134 to 127 the morning of the cut. I lost all of it with the week of the fight, which was mad. And then it was just a pound in the morning. So yeah, it kind of changed. But on fight night, I was 136 at the venue. So I'd usually be 12 or 13 pounds heavier as a strawweight at the venue, but I was just 10 pounds exactly. So I hadn't gained anything this camp. I just didn't cut to strawweight. I still started camp at the same weight I started a strawweight at. I just wasn't losing 1.5 pounds a week. I was losing less than a pound. a week. So, you know, I did lift a bit heavier because I was saying to myself, like, don't be a fucking pussy. You're fighting like this crazy China woman. So, you know, lift them fucking weights. So I think I lifted heavier than I've ever done in my life. Like I PB'd, and I even I hurt like my pelvic floor from deadlifting so heavy 2 weeks before the fight. I was like, okay, this isn't a weightlifting competition, but I definitely like pushed myself, you know, thinking about her.
Was that a bit easier to do, knowing that also it was a 3-round fight? Because obviously recently you've been fighting 5-round fights, and that, like, if your cardio was as good as those, you'd be able to even go harder for those 3 rounds. Was that kind of an adjustment? And I know you said you didn't have to do much technically, but tactically, was that kind of an adjustment?
It was a disadvantage because I've been conditioned to 5 rounds, and I had to start faster, and that's even harder for me to like start on the pace and get going like straight away. And there's no room for error with 3 rounds, whereas like the 5 rounds were just built for me, and I wished it was 5. It was just made me more eager to you know, in every spar I knew I had to start hard, start fast, and I had to be like really, really breathless coming back to my corner in the first round. And I knew that. And I said it to Alan after the fight. God, I was so breathless after the first round. And he's like, I thought you were gone. And I was like, no, I knew I wasn't gone, but I knew I had to be there or she wouldn't be where I needed her to be. Like, I wasn't like that in any of my title fights. I was grand after the first round. Whereas that fight there on Friday, I had to be bollocks. Like after the first round, I had to be have my tongue hanging out, and like I recover really fast then, and I can go again the second round. But if I wasn't breathing heavy, like she wasn't going to be doing what she was doing the other side, which was head down between her legs.
it it felt, watching it live, right, that it was, and maybe this is because I have a bit of bias and, you know, unbiased journalism and all that, but it felt like it felt like a comeback, right? Because it felt like she won the first round. I watched it back today. It was much closer than I thought, and obviously you won the second, and the 10-8 and the third almost got the finish. But did you feel that you were behind after the first round, and it was like, here we go again, you know, I need to make this comeback, I need to do it? Or did you feel, well, you know, I know I heard John talking to you, and he was like, the first round went well and all, but how did you feel yourself?
Like the first round went exactly how like the sparring's been going and how I expected it to go. So like my only goal in the first round was to engage in takedowns and make her really tired, set the pace and keep pushing the pace. And I think I knew myself I wouldn't necessarily win it, but I needed to be commanding the cage and I needed to constantly have her working. And I thought like I would have her working more by constantly shooting on her, but it was more so like the striking and the making her miss. And like even she thought, you know, she'd hit me and then she'd come at me again and she'd use big energy moments. So I didn't think anything after the first round. I didn't think whether I had won or lost because my goal was to finish the fight. I just thought everything's going to plan. That's all I thought. And when I watched it back, like she landed more significant strikes. If I was a judge like her, you could hear her kicks and you can hear her punches off the side of my head, but you can't hear my shots as effectively. But the scores were close. It's just her shots were more impactful, so I would have given it to her. But if you're asleep, a sleepy judge, and I was commanding the cage and walking her back, maybe that's why I got it. So, you know, I it wasn't a comeback in my head. It was going according to plan.
It was one of those fights I was watching. I'm watching it back as well, especially, but watching it live, it was like, I remember thinking to myself, this is the best Danni has ever looked. This is the best performance. But also, you know, the Invicta fights are massive as well. But like, this is what you've been dreaming of. This is like you're in the you know, this is the UFC opportunity to get to the UFC. And like, I've been thinking, you know, obviously the Olympics has just happened recently, and I think it makes everyone think like they have one opportunity. It takes 4 years to get there, and like the 100 meters, they have 10 seconds, and if they don't perform in that 10 seconds, they're gone. Like, how can you get to yourself to that place, and how proud are you of yourself that you are able to get yourself to that place for the biggest opportunity of your life to put on the best performance of your life?
Like John said it to me maybe 3 weeks before the fight. He said like, God, not cutting weight really suits you. Your mood is so high, like, and Alan and John were both saying it like that. I'm laughing and smiling, and everything was just fantastic all the time. And they were kind of putting it down to the calories, and I told both of them, I was like, it's nothing to do with the calories. I said, since I turned pro, even with all my amateur fights, every single fight camp was, don't fuck up, because this is so important for the UFC. Like, my camp for my first pro fight was probably one of the hardest mental things I've ever done, was to go into the Tree Arena and to win a pro debut and not start 0-1. It just felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I never took in those moments, and I never fought to my full of my ability, or enjoyed myself, or tried out moves, or like showed off a bit, or whatever. Do things that you do why you want to be a fighter, or like why you like fighting. I didn't do any of those things because it was don't fuck up because you want to be in the UFC. And that followed me all the way through until Invicta, and it wasn't about the UFC. It was about that fight and winning them world championships. And I started to break away from that, the hold that the UFC had on me. I was like, you know what, I'm just really enjoying myself in Invicta, and I'm loving this, and fuck the UFC. If it never happens, I no one can take this away from me. And then when I got this fight, it was like my coming out party. It's like, finally, I don't have to worry about don't fuck up because it'll affect the UFC, because now I'm in front of the UFC. And that might make any sense, but like in my head, it makes perfect sense. It's like, so now you can show who you are, and now you can fully perform, because this is it. Like, this is, this could be the very end. Like, this is the one, the big one. And that just made me bring my A game. And all camp, I just felt like this huge sense of relief that finally it was going to be in front of the UFC. And I'm such a massive fan, and I watch the Contender Series and I watch Road to UFC, and I was just thinking about like, oh my God, I'm going to have like a highlight reel on that show. And it was just, I just like blossomed in the camp because of it. And, I think all the no's over the last year made me fully believe like that I'm better than this. Like, I should be already in there. I fully believe if I went to the UFC when I was 5-0, I would have had huge imposter syndrome, and I would have thought, what the fuck am I doing here? Whereas that wasn't the case for this. This was like, I'm gone past this. So this is just my coming out party. This is just a fucking warm up for me, like this fight. So yeah, it was like all those things together just meant that finally you could see how good I was. And I'm even probably not that good, as good as that in the gym. I even like would be more nervous in the gym of messing up, but on Friday night there was none of that. It was just, here you go, let's have fun, and let's try and get a highlight reel going or something.
It's funny though, because you're talking about that pressure, and I was going to ask you about that, because for a lot of fighters, and this is no disrespect to anyone, but like, it's almost like the life chooses them. They were doing martial arts when they were young, and they kind of, they're in the gym, and they don't. It's not that they don't have other options, but the option that they picked happens to be mixed martial arts. Whereas for you, as we've talked about it before, but you obviously had the career as a jockey, but also a qualified physio and all of that. Like, you had a great career if you never took up mixed martial arts, and it would, your life would be brilliant if you didn't have that. But you chose to leave that behind to go after mixed martial arts. That must, like, not that it's an added pressure, but it's very different from a lot of people, isn't it? Do you kind of feel that when you're going into these fights, that like, I sacrificed so much, and everyone sacrifices, I know, but you sacrifice something different than a lot of people in your position?
Like, I think people are doing it because they want to. Yeah, like, I think a lot of people do it because they want clout and they want to be a celebrity, or they want to make money. But like, I literally did it because it was hard, and because I wanted to prove to myself that, like, I was put on this earth for a reason, and that, like, from a small child, I always thought like I was going to be something special. And I think over the years of things not going that way, then I started to doubt it, and this was something that was going to be really hard. You know, being a physio wasn't going to be hard. Just go in 9 to 5, get paid, whatever. And the horses was hard, but it was unachievable for me. You know, it was I wouldn't have had this success in the horses if I had 10 goes at it. Like it wasn't going to work out. So I wanted something really hard where I could prove to myself that I could be this special thing, and that's like what gets me up in the morning and makes me feel alive. And it's not about being a celebrity or getting clout or about money or the future or any of that, because if I cared about money in the future and all that, I would have kept my, you know, I had a senior job as a physio, like within 3 years of work, and I had a, you know, pretty good job, and I liked the job, but it didn't challenge me. You know, I wanted more. So I think I'm like unique in my situation, but I think there's a lot of people like me too that they don't fully believe, and they are trying to challenge themselves and see how far they can go. And I hope they find flow someday, and that it does work out for them too. Because if you're doing it because you think you're going to get a house and you're going to be driving around in a Bentley like Connor, then I think you're going to be very disappointed. But if you're doing it for the right reasons, then you know, I have such a unbelievable life. Like I'm so happy. So I am, because of it, because of MMA.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant to hear, because we don't often hear that, you know. We don't have it here, so it's good to hear. I have a couple more things. I have to ask you about the cut. We talked about it briefly at the start. The cut was very unusual, wasn't it? So it happened from a takedown and you hit into her hip. Is that how it happened? And did you know straight away that, you know, this was going to kind of be a bad one looking at it?
So I didn't know I did it at all. And when I leant forward over her on the ground, I felt like there was like a hot bottle of water being poured over the side of my head. And I was like, God, what is that? And then I caught sight of the red, and I was like, oh, I'm pouring blood from my side of my head. And I was like, I wonder how that happened. And I didn't give any thought to it at all. I actually thought, like, this looks great. And my blood was all over her, but it actually made me hungrier to kill her. Like, you know, I felt like it was her blood, which was weird. But I was so aggressive in the fight. Like I'm usually, when I go walk out to a fight, I'm like, keep your shit together, because you're so nervous. Like you're just literally trying to stay calm and composed, and you're building yourself up just to not lose your shit. But this time wasn't like that. I walked out I was actually saying over and over again, like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That's probably why there was so many fucks in the post-fight interview, because I was looking over and I was like, it's not your opportunity. This is my opportunity. You've had your opportunity. You had 2 fucking goes at this shit. I've had no go. So I kept that aggression, walking out, looking at her across the ring. I kept saying, I'm going to put you on that fucking canvas. I'm going to put you on that canvas. And you're going to have to get up and get up and get up until it's over. And that was like that for the whole fight. Like, not one moment did I lose that. Like, I'm going to kill you. This is my opportunity, and I'm taking it. And felt like a bloody lion, so I did for the first time in my career. So my brother was saying, I never seen you like that before. I think this is the new thing now. I think you should do this. I was like, I think so too.
I like it. I'm not criticizing the referee here at all, but do you think if he hadn't stopped the fight to check the cut, you would have got the finish? Because, like, I know that was a big thing coming in, and it's not a big thing coming out of it at all, the finish, because I think that fight speaks for itself. Like, but watching it back today, I feel like you had the momentum. She got a little bit of a breather there. Now, he was right to check the cut, let's be honest, but if he hadn't stopped it there, do you think you would have got the finish?
I don't know. Like, honestly, I think I got a chance to reset and refocus as well. And, like, while the doctor was, I told the doctor, there's 1 minute left. This is my only opportunity. Please do not stop this fight. I said, please. And he's like, okay, off you go. Like, I literally convinced him in a second to leave me alone. He didn't even look at it. Like, and that in them like moments, I was like, I'm just gonna grab her, I'm gonna put her on the ground again. So I don't know if it hadn't have been stopped, like, I think I got a chance to have more focus and like go first. But you know, like she was running away from me at the time, but I don't know if I like was in the right headspace to stop her then either. I could have done something silly. You don't know. So, you know, it is what it is.
Indeed. Last thing for me, everyone's getting behind you at the weekend. Connor was tweeting about you, and obviously he's been a great support to you and the whole Irish MMA community. And not just that, but the wider MMA community. A lot of people in America and stuff get behind you as well, saying this is the Invicta champion. Look at the performance she's after putting in. What's the message to McMahon, or what's the message to the UFC? I feel like it'll be a more positive message this time. It's like, you know, it's your time now, isn't it? What's the message to them?
Like, I don't know. I have this feeling that if I get into the UFC, like, I just think there's going to be one fight after another where it's going to be, you know, this is going to happen, that people are like jumping up and down saying this girl is so exciting, and there's going to be fight of the nights, and I just feel like I can fight my way like I did on Friday into a world title fight, and it's just, it could be the biggest thing that's ever happened since Connor. And I'm not delusional, and I know like there's lots of girls that have skills as good as me, but not many people have got my will to continue to go forward regardless of anything that's happening in the fight. Unless I'm knocked unconscious, I will myself into the win column, and I'll break all around me in for the process. And I just don't know why that isn't what the UFC is about. You know, that I love the UFC. I watch this shit every weekend, and I feel like that's who I am, and that's what I'm going to bring to the table. And if he just gives me that one opportunity, I don't need any more than just one fight deal, because I'm just going to like do what I did on Friday every single fight until I get into a title fight, and there'll be no question of, is she getting dropped? Does she have to go rebuild? No, it's like one run. Give me 4 or 5 fights, and we're done. Like I'll have that belt, and we'll all be like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like, do you remember her so many years ago, and people saying she can't move her head, and she's a farmer, and the tractor, and look at her now. Like, I don't know. That's what I think anyway. I don't know if that's, I don't know. That's literally what I think. But, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but I am the most honest person that is in the world. But before the fight, I said to Alan a week out from the fight, I said, you know, this day next week, our whole life changes one way or the other. You know, it's either all over or it's all on. And he's like, yeah, if it doesn't work out, he said, you should just finish. And I said, well, I'll probably sulk for a year and then I'll want to go to one championship. And he's like, I just don't think you should. I think you should just leave it at the Invicta champion, and we should just move forward with our lives. And I don't know. I have agreed with him, but I said to him, do you know what? No matter what happens on Friday, I'm fine either way. If it doesn't work out, we have an amazing life, and I've had an amazing run at it. And if it does, I think we can go the whole way. So I didn't feel pressure thinking about it, but it's the truth. Like after Friday, by like Wednesday, we're going to know where our life is going, and it could be something very special.
You went to Las Vegas, you went all in, and if there's any man that can respect that, surely it's Dana White. So hopefully it happens. I think
hope so.
I think it's going to happen as well. I think it's your time now. I think you're undeniable, and it's surely going to happen. Danni, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and we'll have you back on before the UFC debut.
Thank you so much, and you guys are like amazing. I swear to God, like Jesus, you've been unreal for my whole career, and especially this year. Like I hear you every single week, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Like I really appreciate it.
Not a bother at all. We're lucky to have great fighters like yourself and others as well that we can get behind and see, you know, on the journey, watching from the very first fight in the Treery, and even you know, winning the Irish Fighter of the Year as an amateur and all. Sure, it only makes us look good. You know, the better you do.
Well, speaking of that, I still didn't get my plaque, did I?
You did get it, didn't you?
No, I didn't get the 2017 one.
2017
I'm going to continue to say that.
You keep going the way you are, you might have a 2024 one. So hold off, and we'll get back to you in January. So, right, Danny, we leave it there. Thank you very much.